The night air clung to my skin, thick with tension. My footsteps echoed along the driveway as I approached the house, heart pounding against my ribs. Something felt wrong. The front door, slightly ajar, sent a wave of unease through me. I had left it locked. Stepping inside, the dim glow from the living room cast shadows across the walls. The scent of expensive perfume, one that didn't belong to my wife, hung in the air. My breath hitched. A soft giggle drifted from the kitchen, followed by a hushed whisper. I moved carefully, each step deliberate, until I reached the doorway. My wife, Lauren, stood at the counter, her fingers grazing the rim of a wine glass. Across from her, seated with a knowing smirk, was her mother, Celeste, a woman who had always regarded me with veiled disdain. "You're home early," Lauren noted, not bothering to mask the irritation in her voice. "Didn't realize I needed permission," I replied, eyes flicking between them. Celeste leaned back, swirling the red liquid in her glass. "We were just having a little chat," she said, voice dripping with condescension. Lauren avoided my gaze, fingers tightening around the stem of her drink. Something unspoken lingered between them, the kind of secret shared through glances and subtle gestures. "About what?" I pressed, unwilling to let it go. Celeste chuckled, shaking her head. "Marriage, love, the future. Important things." My jaw clenched. "And what wisdom are you imparting this time?" Lauren shot her mother a look, as if cautioning her. But Celeste thrived on provocation. She never approved of me, never hid her belief that her daughter deserved someone with more prestige, more wealth. "That some people aren't meant to last," Celeste mused, eyes locking onto mine. A chill ran through me. "Meaning?" Lauren sighed. "She's just talking. Don't start," Celeste interrupted. "I mean, darling, that when a marriage starts crumbling, it's best to acknowledge it, rather than cling to something broken." My stomach tightened. "And you've decided ours is broken?" Celeste tilted her head, a predator scenting blood. "That depends on Lauren, doesn't it?" Lauren shifted uncomfortably, taking a long sip from her glass. My fingers curled into fists. The tension in the room crackled like a live wire. "Am I missing something?" I demanded. Lauren placed her glass down with a sharp clink. "We've been arguing a lot. I think you're holding her back," Celeste finished for her. A scoff left my lips. "That's convenient." Celeste smiled, feigning innocence. "You're a good man, but Lauren could have more. A different life. One that isn't limited." My pulse hammered. "And you've convinced her of this?" Lauren looked away, guilt flickering across her face. My stomach knotted. Celeste sighed dramatically. "Sweetheart, I've only encouraged her to explore what makes her happy." A sickening realization settled over me. "And what does that mean?" Lauren swallowed hard. I need space." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Space? Since when?" Celeste leaned forward. "She deserves to be happy, and frankly, I don't think you've been doing a great job of that lately." Anger surged through me. "And who the hell are you to decide?" Lauren flinched, but Celeste's smirk remained. "Just someone who wants what's best for her." My jaw tightened. "And what's best for her? Someone else?" Silence hung between us. Lauren's eyes darted to Celeste. The hesitation, the uncertainty. It was all the answer I needed. A muscle in my jaw ticked. "You've been in her ear for years, poisoning her against me. But I never thought she'd actually listen." Lauren's lips parted, but no words came. Celeste stood, smooth and poised. "It's late. You should let her rest." My blood boiled. "You don't get to dictate what happens in my marriage." Celeste's smile widened. "Sweetheart, you lost control of it long ago." With that, she strolled past me, perfume lingering in her wake. The sound of her heels clicking against the floor felt like a countdown to something inevitable. Lauren remained rooted in place, eyes shining with uncertainty. I exhaled sharply. "Is this what you want?" Her silence stretched, suffocating, and that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. The silence between us felt like a growing chasm, widening with every second Lauren refused to answer. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out the distant hum of the refrigerator. I wanted her to say something, anything, that would prove Celeste hadn't completely sunk her claws into my wife's mind. Lauren finally exhaled, rubbing her forehead like she was carrying the weight of something unbearable. "I don't know," she whispered. That answer cut deeper than outright rejection. "You don't know?" I repeated, stepping closer. "We've built a life together, a home, and now, suddenly you're unsure." She turned away, staring at the countertop as if the answer was etched into the marble. "Things have been tense for a while." I swallowed the bitter taste in my mouth. "Tense doesn't mean broken. It means we work on it." Her shoulders tensed. "And what if working on it isn't enough?" A sharp laugh escaped before I could stop it. "So what? You just walk away? Because your mother thinks I'm not good enough for you?" Lauren shook her head. "This isn't just about her." "Isn't it?" I shot back, voice rising. "She's been whispering in your ear for years, telling you I'm beneath you. And now, out of nowhere, you're suddenly questioning everything." She hesitated. That moment of doubt was all the confirmation I needed. I took a shaky breath, trying to keep control. "Tell me the truth, Lauren. Is there someone else?" Her lips parted, but no words came. The hesitation burned through me like acid. "Jesus," I muttered, dragging a hand down my face. "You don't even have the decency to deny it?" Tears welled in her eyes, but I wasn't in the mood for her guilt. Not when she was the one destroying everything we had. "It's not—" She stopped herself, shaking her head. "I didn't mean for this to happen." My stomach twisted. "But it did." She wiped at her eyes. "I didn't cheat." "Not yet," I snapped. Her silence was deafening. I stepped back, heart hammering. "Who is he?" She flinched. "Don't." "Don't?" I let out a humorless chuckle. "You're standing here, telling me you're unsure about our marriage, your mother all but pushing you into another man's arms, and you want me to just accept it." She looked away, jaw tightening. That was all I needed. Rage boiled beneath my skin, but I refused to give Celeste the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. I turned, grabbing my keys from the counter. "You've already made your choice, Lauren. You just don't have the guts to say it out loud." She reached for me, fingers brushing against my wrist. "Please don't leave like this." I pulled away. "Like what?" "Like a man who just realized his wife was never really his to begin with." Her eyes filled with fresh tears, but I was done. I stormed toward the door, gripping the handle so tightly my knuckles turned white. Just as I was about to walk out, Celeste's voice floated from the hallway. "Running away, dear." I froze, fury surging through my veins. Slowly, I turned to face her. She stood there, arms crossed, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. "You must be thrilled," I said, voice low. "You've been waiting for this moment for years, haven't you?" Celeste feigned innocence. "I only want my daughter to be happy." My jaw clenched. "And you think happiness means tearing her away from me?" She stepped closer, tilting her head. "I think happiness means options. And you? You were never the best one." I laughed bitterly. "You have no idea what real love is, do you?" Her smile widened. "Oh, sweetheart, I know exactly what it is. That's why I made sure Lauren found someone who could give her more than you ever could." My blood ran cold. "Someone," I repeated. Celeste's expression didn't change, but I saw it, the flicker of triumph in her gaze. She knew, and suddenly everything fell into place. Lauren's hesitation, her guilt, the way she couldn't look me in the eye. Celeste had orchestrated all of it. I turned to my wife, whose face was ghostly pale. How long? Tears streamed down her cheeks. It's not how long. My voice was sharp, cutting through her excuses. She crumbled, wrapping her arms around herself. A few months. My vision blurred with fury. Celeste clicked her tongue. See, was that so hard? I nearly lost it. My fists curled, every muscle in my body demanding I lash out. But I wouldn't give her that power. Instead, I turned to Lauren, voice eerily calm. And you let her do this? You let her manipulate you into betraying me? Lauren sobbed. I didn't plan for this, I swear. But you let it happen, I said, chest tight. And that's just as bad. She reached for me again, but I stepped back. Don't, I warned. She broke down completely, but I had no sympathy left. Celeste sighed dramatically. Well, this has been fun, but I think it's time you go, don't you? I met her gaze, letting her see the storm brewing inside me. You think you've won, don't you? She smiled. Oh, sweetheart, I don't think I know. I exhaled sharply, turning my back on both of them. Enjoy your victory, Celeste, because soon you'll realize it came at a cost. With that, I walked out, slamming the door behind me. And for the first time in years, I realized this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The night air slapped against my face as I stepped outside, rage curling in my gut like a wildfire. My hands trembled, fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to turn back, to confront Celeste, to force Lauren to see the destruction her mother had caused. But what would that change? She had already made her choice. I climbed into my car, gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled fury. My reflection in the rearview mirror was barely recognizable, eyes dark with betrayal, jaw locked with simmering fury. The house behind me stood like a monument to the life I thought I had. Now it was nothing more than a graveyard for broken vows. I needed answers, and there was only one person who could give them to me. The engine roared as I sped away, tires screeching against the pavement. My mind raced with fragmented memories, signs I had ignored, whispers I had dismissed. Lauren had been distant for months, making excuses, brushing off my concerns with tired smiles and hollow reassurances. And I, like a fool, had believed her. But Celeste had been planting seeds of doubt for years. She had made sure Lauren saw me as a burden, an anchor keeping her from the life Celeste deemed worthy. And now, she had succeeded. I gritted my teeth, gripping the wheel tighter. Number she hadn't won. Not yet. The city lights blurred past as I drove, my destination clear. If Lauren had been unfaithful, then I needed to know who she had been with. And if Celeste had orchestrated this, there was no doubt in my mind that she had chosen someone she approved of, which meant it had to be someone close. My stomach twisted at the thought. A name lingered in the back of my mind, one I had been too afraid to acknowledge before. Nathan, Lauren's colleague, her friend. The man Celeste had always praised, slipping his name into conversations, nudging Lauren toward him like a prize stallion in a race only she was betting on. I clenched my jaw. If he was the one, then he needed to face me. The office building loomed in front of me, its towering glass windows reflecting the city's glow. It was late, but I knew Nathan worked long hours. I had heard Lauren mention it enough times. I parked, stepping out with measured strides, my pulse hammering with anticipation. The security guard barely spared me a glance as I entered. The elevator ride felt endless, my fury growing with each passing floor. When the doors finally slid open, I stepped into the dimly lit hallway. The office was quiet, most of the desks empty, but at the end of the hall, behind a glass door, a light remained on. Nathan. I moved toward it, fists tightening. Through the glass, I saw him, seated at his desk, staring at his computer screen with an expression of pure focus. He had no idea what was coming. I pushed the door open, the sound making him look up. His brows furrowed in confusion before recognition dawned in his eyes. "Hey," he said cautiously, setting his pen down. "What are you doing here?" I shut the door behind me, the sound echoing in the silent office. "We need to talk." His posture stiffened. "About what?" I took a step closer. "About Lauren." Nathan's throat bobbed, his Adam's apple rising and falling. "What about her?" I studied him, watching the way his hands fidgeted, the way his eyes darted away. Guilt clung to him like a second skin. "Don't play dumb," I said, voice low. "I know." He inhaled sharply, glancing toward the door like he was considering an escape. "Say it," I demanded, stepping closer. "Be a man for once in your goddamn life." Nathan's jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. That was all the confirmation I needed. Rage erupted inside me. Before I could stop myself, my fist connected with his jaw. The impact sent him sprawling back, knocking over a stack of papers. He groaned, clutching his face. "Jesus, man." "How long?" I seethed. Nathan coughed, wiping at his bleeding lip. "It's not what you think." I grabbed the collar of his shirt, yanking him forward. "How long?" His breath came in short gasps, eyes darting wildly. 3 months. The words hit like a sledgehammer. 3 months. While I had been holding on to hope, trying to fix my marriage, Lauren had been sleeping with him. A bitter laugh escaped me. I released him, stepping back as disgust churned in my stomach. Nathan exhaled, rubbing his sore jaw. "She was unhappy, man. You had to know that." "Don't justify it," I snapped. "Don't stand there and pretend you did me a favor." He looked away. "I never wanted to hurt you." A humorless chuckle escaped me. "You sure as hell didn't try to stop yourself." Nathan swallowed hard. "I love her." The words sent a fresh wave of fury through me. "You don't even know what love is," I spat. "You're just another pawn in Celeste's game." Nathan hesitated. She did encourage it." I froze. "Celeste?" He nodded, rubbing the back of his neck. "She told Lauren she deserved more, that she should stop holding herself back, that if she wanted to be happy, she should explore her options." My blood ran cold. Of course. Celeste hadn't just manipulated Lauren. She had ensured Nathan played his part, too. She had orchestrated the affair like a master puppeteer, pulling every string with precision. She had wrecked my marriage from the inside out. Nathan sighed. "I never meant for it to happen this way." I turned, exhaling sharply. "You never meant for it to happen, but you sure as hell didn't stop it." Silence stretched between us. I walked to the door, gripping the handle. Before I left, I cast one last glance at him. "Tell Lauren she got what she wanted," I said coldly, "and so did her mother." Then, without another word, I stepped out into the night. But I wasn't done. Not yet. The drive home was a blur. My knuckles turned white against the steering wheel, mind clouded with a storm of betrayal, fury, and something colder: resolution. I had spent years loving a woman who never truly fought for me. I had let Celeste chip away at my worth, allowing her poison to seep into my marriage. But now I saw the truth, and I wasn't going to be the fool they thought I was. By the time I pulled into the driveway, my plan had solidified. I stepped inside, the house eerily quiet. The smell of lavender still lingered, Lauren's favorite candle scent. It used to comfort me. Now it made my stomach churn. Upstairs, the bedroom light was on. She was waiting. I climbed the steps slowly, each one feeling heavier than the last. When I reached the door, I didn't hesitate. I pushed it open. Lauren sat on the bed, still in her work clothes, her face streaked with dried tears. She looked up at me, eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. Guilt, fear, regret. It didn't matter anymore. "Where did you go?" she asked softly. I shut the door behind me, leaning against it. "To see him." She flinched. "Natan?" I nodded, watching as her face paled, her hands twisted together in her lap. I was going to tell you." A bitter chuckle escaped me. "When?" "After your mother finished drawing up the divorce papers." She swallowed hard, looking away. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Funny," I mused. "That's exactly what he said." Lauren winced, shoulders trembling. I was confused. "Stop," I interrupted, voice firm. "Just stop." She looked at me then, really looked at me, as if realizing for the first time that something was different, because I wasn't here to fight for her anymore. I pulled a folded document from my pocket and tossed it onto the bed. She picked it up, hands shaking as she scanned the contents. Her breath hitched. "Divorce papers?" I nodded. "Already signed." Tears welled in her eyes. You're leaving me?" A strange sense of calm settled over me. "No, Lauren. You left me. The moment you let your mother convince you I wasn't enough. The moment you let another man touch what was ours. This," I gestured toward the papers, "this is just me making it official." She shook her head rapidly, as if denial could turn back time. "But Save it," I said coldly. "You had months to be honest. Instead, you let Celeste pull the strings while you played along. And now you want to cry? Spare me." Her sobs broke through, but they didn't move me. "Not anymore." "You think she cares about you?" I asked, stepping closer. "Celeste? She doesn't love you, Lauren. She controls you. She always has. And guess what? The second I'm gone, she's going to set her sights on the next thing she thinks you should change. Maybe it'll be Nathan. Maybe it'll be your career. But she will never stop. And one day, when you finally wake up and realize she stole everything from you, I won't be here to pick up the pieces." Her breathing hitched. "Please don't do this," she whispered. I exhaled, shaking my head. "You already did." I turned to leave, gripping the doorknob. But then a cruel thought struck me. One last thing to drive the knife deeper, not out of vengeance, but to make sure she understood exactly what she had done. I glanced over my shoulder. "Oh, and Lauren?" She looked up, eyes glistening. "Tell your mother she was right about one thing," I said, voice calm. "I was never the best option for you." Her breath hitched. I smiled. "But I was the only one who ever truly loved you." And with that, I walked out, leaving her to drown in the ruins of the life she had chosen. As I stepped outside, the cool night air filled my lungs, cleansing away the remnants of the past. Celeste thought she had won. Lauren thought she had options. But in the end, they had both lost the one thing they could never replace. "Mister,"